Welcome to January Study Club, and I'm going to be presenting um, Keith's case from start to finish. This is like a super enjoyable, probably my most favourite denture of 2024. So I'm going to go through that step by step, each stage. Um, As usual with this study club, I'd love it, and I've got two screens here. I'd love it if you ask questions because you're going to keep me right during the whole thing. So if there's stuff that I've missed that you really want me to drill into, just put it straight in there, and I'll keep looking at it from time to time throughout the whole process. So I first had contact with Keith in May last year in 2024. And normally I'll do either a phone call or a Zoom consultation, preferably a Zoom consultation, but some people just don't like doing this thing over the computer. He lives about 1 hour from the practice, just under an hour's in this little place called Barrow Ford, which is just outside of Burnley in Lancashire. So it's about 45 minutes really to get to the practice. So I spoke to him on the phone. Now, Keith had had a motorbike accident at the age of 21, a really serious one, where he lost a load of teeth at the front there. And at the presentation, when I spoke to him, he was 63, and he'd lived throughout these many years with lots of missing teeth here. So, and this is the X-ray picture of that I got from the referring dentist, just showing it really shows in a nutshell. We've got this over eruption of these lower front teeth going right up into this area there. So, and I like to just even on the telephone just to sort of work out what his concerns are and then just give them an idea of cost. So his concerns were that he's got an ill-fitting denture, and he gave me a history of having quite a number of them that just had not worked. He'd had a metal-based one made years and years ago, which should function quite well, and then he'd gone and had some other plastic ones which weren't great. So this is his wish list here. He wanted proper fitting dentures. This is exactly what he said, and he wanted to be able to eat without difficulty. So just looking at him, I was just thinking in terms of costs, it's just probably just for the upper teeth alone to do a partial denture right somewhere in that ballpark there. So when I mentioned that to Keith, he was fine and happy to come in for a consultation for me to then give him a really accurate quote. So this is him at presentation here. He's got an old upper removable partial denture in place. It's an acrylic based denture, and that's his smile. You can see he's really biting on that and it's just crunched it right up. And then if we look really closely at this area here, zooming in, there you can see that we've got a gap there. And also he's really quite over closed, isn't he? And the lip support's not great at the top too. So look at that. There's a gap there, and I want to really get something fitting really intimately and closely in that area nicely. So this is his denture there, just that in place, his old denture. And I think the term gum stripper is perfect. It's a perfect term for these types of things that just it's supported by the soft tissues. It's not supported by the teeth, at the upper teeth, and it's just getting squidged in and pushing away at all of those gingivae. Look at that. Not great, is it? At all. That's the denture he's wearing. It's uncomfortable as well. It's not great. You can't chew very well with it. Interestingly, as well, with these patients, quite often people don't really want to say, I don't like the look of my teeth. They tend to just say to me, like, I want better function, I want it to be more comfortable. And they sometimes are a little bit embarrassed about saying, I'd like it to look better too. But when we get to the end and finish the whole thing, they just say, oh, I can't believe how much better I look as well. And it's a really big, important part of the whole process. So these are his lower teeth. Um, there, I'm just having a look there. Jess Jeffries has said, um, "Good evening. I'm just having a look at the questions as they come up. Are you able to say um, what the black pigmentation is, lower anterior labial mucosa?" So I'm guessing it's not an amalgam tattoo. I think it probably is actually an amalgam tattoo. No, it actually probably it's something related to his RTA actually, Jess. But I'm just speculating, from years ago. It that might be a little bit of, tarmac embedded in there. So it's a good point though. So that's and then lower arch not in great shape. These are reasonable condition, you know, quite heavily restored posteriors. And again, when I have patients referred to me, I'm really reluctant to do anything more than I really need to, and just let their referring dentist manage the situation. Um, so I was going to treat his top teeth because everything can get really expensive if I'm doing upper and lower too. And he's still got enough teeth to chew with down at the bottom there. But anyway, let's have a look at his dentures now. So he's got this is like, the classic bag full of dentures, a number of them that have just all of them really not worked. And the real fundamental issue is they're not supported by good, solid, hard teeth there. And, it's just we've got this issues with the whole thing and stripping of the gingiva as well as these two not great restorations up here. These amalgams are quite okay there and there. Um, Quite often when I show my cases, people, all over the world will just talk about them and say to me, "Hey Finn, why didn't you change these amalgams and put white fillings in and make things look better?" And yeah, I could do that. However, sometimes even just changing a filling can open up a can of worms and be an issue. And also, when it comes to the denture fitting over the top of them, these metal-based dentures that are both like a semi-permanent splint can really help to support these teeth and support the underlying restorations. However, I did think these were really just too tatty to ignore, so I knew that there's an issue just there. You can see how everything moves, doesn't it? Nothing ever stays the same. There's another one of these little tattoos there, Jess, in that area too. And over erupted. And I bet that he can probably posture. It wouldn't surprise me if he can get that right up into these areas and potentially at night he'll be bruxing on those areas. And this is really important. When I'm thinking about putting a new denture in for someone, I want the bite to be quite stable without the denture in place if they don't wear it. So for instance, jacking them open on a tooth, like if I was going to restore this one back to its former height, this canine, that would be the only point of contact without the denture in place, a denture in place. So, and it would be a point of weakness. So, just bite there. So I decided let's do some onlays on there. And I'm quite happy to do composite onlays, not even Emax, just composite, because the metal-based denture will fit over the top of those. There. So I always love to go back to the patient and say, okay, your wish list, this is once I've done my examination and worked out what I can do for them with a denture, can I make a properly fitting denture? Yes, can definitely do that. Will you be able to chew without difficulty? Now, probably yes, but I've put that as an amber thing there because I think it's terribly important to emphasize to the patient that I'm going to make you something that's a lot better than what you've had in the past. However, it's still not going to be like natural teeth, and it's going to take time to learn how to use it. So that there is it's team effort. It'll be work from me and from my technical team. Normally Rowan, but sadly Rowan was ill whilst I was treating this guy, and it was Sam and his team that helped me with that. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute. So that's it. So I can definitely help it fit better, but chewing, it's a mixture of both. It's like a 50-50 thing, 50% my efforts and 50% him getting used to it. So if you look at the distribution of missing teeth here, and all of those teeth have got relatively dubious prognosis, the design there is a design number 6 from my different patterns and arrangements of missing teeth there. It's number 6 there. You can scan, just do a QR code and it'll bring up the PDF of this, which is really quite helpful for you. So that's the overall pattern. And then what I like to do is love colouring it in and, just colouring in where they've got the missing teeth and going round. So let's have a look at the design here. So I'm wanting to replace all of these teeth here at the front and also the saddle area. So that gets drawn on, the missing teeth get drawn on first. And then secondly, I want to then work out where I'm going to get my support, and I want to rest the denture fully on top of these teeth here and also these teeth along the back here as well, so it's really well tooth supported. I've also indicated I want composite onlays on these 2 teeth there, and also I've indicated a shell clasp here. I'll talk to you about that just in a sec. So 2 clasps per denture is what I do. And if you see the designs, the X means retention, those areas there. And I want to have it cut away from all of the gingival margins there. I want metal backings on these front ones because, it's so over erupted, isn't it? The mouth there. Now, let's have a look from the side here. This is the upper right-hand side. And these teeth, these have over erupted down into that area, and there's not much I can do with these sorts of things. I can't really push them back up. It's just that's just where they are. But I do want to clasp this back tooth, that one there. And I know that if we put a gold clasp on, like here, which will come across there, like there and there, it's not going to look great. So I decided rather than putting a gold clasp like that, we'd go for a shell clasp just there like this. So these were this is my treatment plan here. So I did the primary impressions when he came in for his first visit, which was at the consultation stage. And then I did my onlay preparations, visit 2, fit the onlays, adjust the rest of the upper teeth to do my upper working impression, the upper definitive impression, and then do a bite registration, do a try-in, do a metal base, try, and then finish the whole thing. And I always like to do, a good treatment plan letter as well. So once the patient's decided, and we're happy with where we're going to head, I give them this and they sign that a treatment plan. I do have copies of these on my resources in the resources section of my teaching website there, so you can just pick up examples of these. But I do think it's really important to them to be fully consented to this, and also know how much things are going to cost. What the design's going to be like. I like to show them different examples as well. So Jess has asked a question. is there a difference to your treatment plan if the teeth are over erupted or if it is alveolar compensation? Well, Jess, I'm just using the two words interchangeably, over eruption or alveolar compensation. I think they're both basically the same thing. It's just it's as we all see, if there's no opposing tooth, then the opposing tooth, unless it's held in place by something, just gradually erupts down and brings everything with it. So I'm just calling it over erupted, but I think dento-alveolar compensation is the truly correct word for it. So this is it, the primary impressions here. And it's funny, isn't it, when patients come in, they often have loads of fix on, don't they, with these dentures? And I quite often got to just scrape it off myself. And this is me doing this, and hopefully I've got a few videos in tonight for you. So this is me just scraping that off with I've just got a blunt, just a round-ended spatula. And once I've got it sort of almost puckered off, I can get a gauze and just a dry piece of gauze and just pull that off there. You can see Keith's had a little go with his own fingernail there, and he's just cut himself a little bit just there. But I think it's really important to get it clean. Technicians hate it when they have a impression with fixative on because it's totally inaccurate. It's not like super bad for a primary impression, but for a working impression, dead important that I've cleaned the surface there fully. So I take one of these transformed dentate trays. And I want to, in the edentulous saddle area, put some compound, some red cake compound. So this is me doing this for Keith. So what I've got here is some Vaseline on the finger of my glove, and then in the sink here is some red compound. And it's softened because I've got water running into that, and it's really, really warm. It's really hot water just running out the tap. And look how lovely that compound is to work with. And I can just get that and squidge it into my primary impression tray. I can just push that into the primary impression tray there. You can see that there's just fitting nicely in there. And then I can then put that back into the warm water there. So that's in the warm water. This is from my head cam, and I can just move it and mold it into the right shape, and then take that straight over to Keith here, pop it in his mouth, rotate it in. Look at that. I'm just getting it right in, push it up. I'm standing behind him and just pushing that into place. So that's seated really nicely onto the saddle there. And where his tooth just showed up in the impression, the back tooth there, that premolar, I could just push that with my finger. And so it's nice. And then, so I've recreated this area, this edentulous area. This is for my primary impression. So once I've done that, I put adhesive on here, paint that with alginate adhesive. I mix up my alginate and mix up this really thick mix of this is Blueprint X Cream made by Dentsply that goes into the tray. And then this here is Alginoplast made by Kulzer, and it's quite a runny material. So then what I do is I take this to the mouth. So this is what we do. So I squirt that in all the way around. Look at that. I'm just going to start again. So this is the syringe here. I'm going to squirt that right up into the sulcus all the way around. Look at it. This is so important. This is why scanning is just no good for removable pros. Look at how beautiful I can just get that sulcus. It's amazing. And I did a little bit just at the end there into the vault of the palate too. And then I've got my other alginate just sitting on the bench, pick it up, and I can just put it in and rotate it in. Notice Claire's got these little retractors in as well. My nurse is holding the lip away at the top, and then I just push that up like that into place, come round to the back, and then I can just gently feed the impression material up into the sulcus there. Great. Beautiful. And I keep massaging the lip there. By the way, everyone, if you have any questions at all, just stick them into the Q&A box. There, I can see it. So look at that. What a great impression, isn't it? So because I've squirted right up into the sulcus here with that injectable material, I've just got a great impression. And also preloading the vault of the maxilla is really important too. It's great. I also took a lower impression too. Now I'm not making a denture in the lower arch for Keith here, so I don't need to do my two-part impression. I just took one with the blueprint alginate, and I used 3 scoops for that. It's still a nice impression though, isn't it? I've got a nice sulcus on that too. It's really nice doing a good impression. I love it. So this is the primary impression with my primary cast, and then from that we can construct a really good special tray. This is the lower arch there too, and that's the mandibular primary cast. And I do think it's really important to focus and concentrate on getting a really good impression of the lower teeth. I'm not bothered about the sulcus because I'm not making a denture on that, but getting the teeth is so important. And I'm wanting minimal air bubbles on there too. So that's why when I'm actually doing the impression, I preload it into and rub the alginate into the occlusal surfaces of the teeth. It's great. So next it's the onlay preparations. And what I did was just numbed him up using articane, popped articane in, just took out those fillings, and then took a impression in silicone. Old school, not scanning. Nice silicone impression, and then we can then get a lovely onlays made. This is the material I used for that. It's lovely honeycomb, so great impression. And then what I asked for, and this is the part of the instructions to the lab, and this is actually uh, Paul. It's Paul at Sam's lab that did the composite work for me, Paul Garrett. And so I've just drawn, I said, I'd like the teeth, those 2 teeth, the 4 and the 5, reconstructed. And I want to have the shape of the onlay like this there, so that the metal surface of the denture, we've got a nice little dish rest seat just there. And then looking from above occlusally, I want it to have the metalwork just to fit just right into those teeth there, right the way across. So it's almost like a metal filling, but as part of the denture. And also, what I really think about as well too is I'm wanting the flanges to really follow that surface of the teeth there. So we've got this anterior path of insertion, with the heels down, and then the whole denture can just go in at the front there. It's super important. 2. So let's go for having a look at for doing the working impressions, onlay fit and then working impressions appointment. So this is my technical work that I got back for doing the working impression. These are the 2 composite onlays, and also I did a bite record too. And we just got some wax rims made on the primary casts, which these can be fitted to the working casts later, just to help to articulate everything. These are the onlays, composite onlays. These are the fitting surfaces. It's just composite. It's HFO composite. These are the preps there. they just fit in, and that's the material that I've used this for years. HFO composite is stuff that I went on a course with Lorenzo Vanini years ago, and I just love this composite material. So, and they've got guide surfaces on, they've got rest seats. So I sandblast take out the temporary restorations, which was a Voco clip that was in there. Took out the Voco clip, sandblast, etch, bond, and then bond on the fitting surface of the Onlay. And this is a little video of me fitting it. So this is warmed HFO. I've got a little heater, it goes in, and then it just goes onto the tooth. You know, it's like jigsaw, and just push that on, press that on there really well. You know, I should be using a rubber dam, but I just find that it just gets in the way for me. I'm not an expert at using that. So press that in, take away the excess, keep pressing, take away the excess, keep pressing, excess, press, excess, and clean it up until it's totally clean. And do that for both of them. I'm using some floss here, just there. And then I've got to really have a look at the bite on these sorts of things, you know, because of this, all of this over eruption or dento-alveolar compensation, you know, where these lows have gone whoosh, up there. This is, you know, the bite, it just gets in the way. Look at that. That onlay that I've fitted is the first point of contact in his CR position. So what I did here was just to get him to grind around, and then I just drill off parts of the onlay just to make sure I've got total space there. So there, it's all flattened off completely to allow him to just to bite fully back into his normal position, just like that. Because I do believe, I just think it's so important when I come to, if he doesn't wear the upper denture, I want his bite to be as stable as possible, you know, so he's not propped anywhere. Because if he's propped on one single tooth, that's when we can have problems with restorations breaking. So he's ready now to have the working impressions done there. So now we're ready to do the working impression. This is the custom tray, and I like the custom tray to be made so that the border is a good 3 millimeters short of the sulcus, avoiding freeney as well here too. And then plenty of space over the teeth with nicely riveted nice holes in there so that the alginate can flow into those and be riveted in really nicely there. So that's the custom tray, and I put my green stick in here in on the fitting surface there like that. So I've warmed that up in the water bath, and then I've stuck that onto the surface there. And then I take that to the mouth, and that just helps me to centralize that in the mouth. And it means that I can just put it in without and know that I've got it square. I just want to share with you how I bored and mold this bit as well here. Now, this is, and so what I've done here is I've got a Bunsen burner, and I'm going to warm up the edge of the tray, and then I warm the edge of the tray so it's hot, and then I put on my green stick, and I've got Vaseline on my gloves to enable me to work with that green stick there like that. So it's lovely and soft. That goes back into the hot water. This bit here goes back into the warm water, and then I take this to the mouth. And this is me popping that in the mouth. I rotate it in, sit it up onto the palate, and I get him to waggle his jaw so that the coronoid process is really moulding that buccal edge. And then I'm gripping the cheek, pulling it down, And you can see that it's just beautifully molded by the patient here. Can you see how lovely and thin that is? So that's the denture space, and that's where I want the saddle to be extended to there. So once this is ready like that, I can just put the alginate adhesive all over the tray. And by the way, I'm going to be posting this on YouTube later, so you can revisit this if need be. So adhesive goes on all over. I then mix up a nice runny mix of Dentsply blueprint, place that into the tray, and I glaze it. And I glaze it with running water. I'll show you what I mean by that. This is cold running water where I'm just rub over the surface of the impression. And what this does, it reduces air bubbles by 50%. And then I also rub a little bit of the alginate into the occlusal surfaces of the teeth. And then I take the impression tray, rotate it in, sit it right up, push it down so it's seated fully on the palette there. And then make sure it's fully seated right onto the palette. I'm pushing it up, and then I start to mold around all of the periphery. Just I'm wanting to have it as the alginate as closely as it functionally molded. I want it functionally molded by the patient. And I'm thinking here, if he's got a frenum, I don't want that frenum getting in the way. And I'm going to move it from side to side, the lip, there, doing a massage. So, and then if I look at this here, this is it in place, this is in Keith's mouth. So that is fully border molded by him just there. So that's the working impression. And you can see that I've got all of these lovely rest seats in. Everything's all there. It's all beautifully smooth. It's great for making a denture on. Over the past 12 years, I've been using Chris Hesketh to make my metal bases, and I've had two that have not fitted in that time. And this is using this alginate approach, so it's really, really accurate and it works beautifully there. You can see here, I'd like to point out this area. This is where he's waggled his jaw. That's a coronary process that's been, rubbing that away, beautifully there too. It's great. It's always good doing a nice impression. I love it. So the next thing I did at this visit as well was to do a jaw registration and actually just trim here where I felt the incisal plane should be. It's just like a really rough sort of guide for him to just see where we think we should put the teeth there, like that. And then did a jaw registration at that vertical there. So, and then that goes through to Sam, over to Sam in Bolton. So that's it all set up. So this is the lab ticket that I use, the lab sheet that just goes through there. And this is the sort of thing that I put on there. So this is like, please cast the definitive impression, mount using the primary rim. So that primary rim will be fitted to the working cast. Make the upper duralay pattern. I want a pattern resin with wax rim carved at the same height and vertical as previous rim for definitive jaw registration. And I said as well, when I went through to the lab to speak to him, I said, can you just put some teeth on the front? So we'll have wax rims on the back, teeth on the front. So we can have a look at that there too. So this is my working cast. You can see how beautifully accurate I am with the impressions, with the rest seats. You can see the rest seats really prominently there. And the denture is going to just sit over the top of that. two. So registration, and let's go to the next visit, which is registration and teeth trying. Please put some questions in here. You're very quiet this evening with your questions, and I'm very happy to answer anything, even if you think it might be a silly question, because it won't be a silly question at all. So, so these are the work. This is the working cast mounted, and then this is with the jaw edge blocks on the back and the teeth on the front there. I just wanted to see what this would look like in place. And this pattern has also got a clasp on there like that, just a pretend clasp. So it's really like a mock-up of the final shape of the metalwork. And this is quite nice because I can just check that my working impression, the working cast is accurate. You can try that in the mouth there. So, and it's just designed very similar to the actual design of the metalwork. So here we've got the Duralay in place there. Now notice here, it's very, very thin, isn't it? You can almost see the tooth through there. So I was a little bit worried about this, and we'll talk about that when I come to do show you the metalwork. It's just, again, it's to do with this over eruption, denso-alveolar compensation. So the when I did the trying here, I just thought there was a cancel now. I didn't like that. I didn't actually show Keith this at that time. He didn't look at it on the video at all at this point. I just looked at that and thought, me and Claire were like, I'm just going to get that leveled up properly. I can register the bite, just take a jaw registration of that in MIP, just like that. And then that can get mounted. So that goes back to the technician, going to be re-articulated, going to have new teeth put on the back too. So that's the whole full proper try-in here now. So another visit further on, this is a proper try-in, all of the teeth on. It's like a complete mock-up of the final denture, how it's going to be. So I can just try that in and then know that A, it's fitting nicely, and B, he is going to be happy with it. So let's try that in the mouth. You could see the bite working nicely here. That's it. It's looking good. I can just hear Zach and Rachel have just arrived back home tonight. I can hear the car door shutting, so you might hear a dog barking. Fred might be quite excited to see them. So just don't worry if you can hear a dog barking. So this is the Duralay. Try. You can see, look how thin that is there in the bite. Now, he was totally happy about having some metal potentially showing here. And this is the beauty about, this is the great thing about doing the Duralay pattern resin trying. I can just say, look, Keith, see this here? There will be a little bit of metal showing just there. And I don't want to restore that tooth to its full height because it will be the only point of contact in the mouth if we do that, and it'll just be a real problem. So you can have a good look at these there. And he loved it, that appearance. And he actually said, oh, it just feels good too, which is nice. He's getting a feel for how the footprint of the final denture is going to be. So once I'm totally happy with the tooth positions, then that's when I get the chrome made. And I think this is super important, is always to get the chrome made after doing the try-in, because the tooth positions dictate, the positions of where the artificial teeth are, dictate where the teeth are going to go, just like this you can see here. So that's the actual try-in. And then the metalwork is made precisely to where the teeth are going to go. So it's important. And I don't make the metal base before I've done the try-in in almost all of my cases. And then the other little feature I'd like to just share with you, look at that little biting metal stop here on there. This pink section here, it's still part of the chrome, but it's just painted with pink there too. So, and I think this is why doing these lovely big designs, it's really helpful for the technician. They know exactly what the design is going to look like. I just want to share with you the clasp here. This is a wrought cobalt chrome clasp which is welded on there. So I don't do cast chrome clasps anymore because I find that they're very difficult to bend and can snap. So I love doing these wrought cobalt chrome clasps too. So Mohid Rahman has asked, what is the purpose of the metal stop in the upper right 7 region? So I'll show you just in a sec. It's this here. It's very tight on the bite, and we've got a molar, an 8, that is going to touch that there. So it's where we've got the back teeth on there, where it hits against the back teeth. It'll show up better when I show you on the articulated casts just later. So that's the metal framework. This is all painted with white tooth colored opaque. This is an index with the teeth that with the teeth in the right place, and the metal framework's made to fit into those bits there. So Farah has asked, should we always do a Durolay try-in, then metal framework try-in, then framework and wax try-in? So Farah, what I do a Durolay try-in with teeth on, go to the metal try-in, and then go to the finish after that. I don't do a framework and wax try-in. It's a tooth try-in with Durolay, a metal try-in, and then finish. Before that, though, you could do a jaw edge, and it really depends on the numbers of missing teeth. And in my textbook that I'm writing at the moment, I'm being very clear about different situations that require this. But doing a jaw edge, like in this case, a jaw edge can have a Durolay pattern with wax rims on. It then goes to the tooth try-in on Durolay, then goes to the metal base try-in, and then the finish. And sorry to be confusing. So that's the metal base try-in. Now, I want you to just focus, please, on this here. There. Look, that is the CR position there. And to get into a MIP position, you'd have to, or into a better occlusion, you'd have to slide forward. So I did have to thin this metalwork down quite a bit and take a little bit off that tooth, the back there too, and adjust it, but only a bit. And then I had to sort of pray that the dial approach would help when we came to fit it, which it did. It did work really well. Well, this is the trying there. Now, Mohid Rahman, thank you very much for your question. This is where that metal occlusal stop comes in there at that back edge. You can just see it there over that tooth. So there he is, clonking on that. Bang. When Chris was making the chrome, he said, look, Finn, I can't do much about this. So we just did it like that. And this is him sliding forward into a better position. So that is, so you can see the metalwork fitting, really nicely there. And it did need a little tiny bit of adjustment around those teeth. You can see where I've just ground it a little bit there with a diamond speed increasing burr just on those bits there and there too. And then once I've done that, I sandblast it. I sandblast the fitting surface where it fits up against the teeth. I find that I get slightly better retention on that too. So that's all done. So once I've done that metal base try-in there, that goes back to the lab and it's like, please finish. I want a dental D clasp on the upper left, sorry, the upper right four. Sandblast the fitting surfaces there. So this is it. Let's fast forward to finish. So that's the metal-based denture, the the combat denture, which is like super strong because it's bite, everything's just gonna it's just gonna be proper cruncher. But this is the shell clasp that fits around that premolar, and this material's really good. Found that very useful for retention. That's the weight um, of the RPD, 24 grams, which is slightly heavier than normal, but generally around about 20 grams, these metal-based uppers. Nicholas Ziegel. How do you mark up your chrome when you need to ease them in for a good fit? Hi, Nick. It's great to hear from you. Um, so, two ways, Nick. If I'm wanting to make it fit better on the fitting surface, I use Occlude spray or Arty spray, and that goes onto the fitting surface. Try it in, take it out. Where it rubs off, I grind away. But really, I think a very, very important thing that I do is, and I'm just going to find this for you just now. There, back to this, Nick, is um, what I really don't want to do is adjust it along this edge here where it fits against the tooth, against the occlusal surface of the tooth. If I adjust it along that edge there, I'm liable to create a gap, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, arty spray there. Now, if I'm doing an occlusal check though, Nick, and this is checking the occlusion um here, then I will sandblast that occlusal surface, put my articulating paper in, and check it with that because I do find it marks better. I find it's very difficult to see when it's polished, the chrome, if I've got occlusal stops on that too. Great question, thank you. It's good. Um, Lovely. So here we are with the finished denture. So Ramman, so Mohid, that's the area where we've got that metal stop there. And what I find is that if it's very thin in these areas and it's just left in plastic, it'll just crack, it'll just break. So finished denture, there we go. Open bite, increased open bite there, like that. Using these guide surfaces right in, it fits nicely. Let's go back to the other side. So we've got that slotting in, really well tooth supported. That's my shell clasp on the denture there too. So yeah, that's the finished denture. So we can see here that I've kept it totally clear of the gingival margins on the inside all the way along there. And then this is the shell clasp that comes all the way around. It's really like a veneer that's incorporated into the denture. Very thin metal striking plate there, Mohid. Beautiful. Keeping it all clear. Gingival margins. Even here, you can see there, that's all kept clear. Nice and strong. Nice. Wrought clasp. And that's a wrought cobalt-chrome clasp. I know I can bend it without it breaking in the future. That's the finished RPD. This bit here, I sandblasted later, so it wasn't quite so visible and shiny in the mouth. Great, so let's get it fitted. Sorry, that's the shell clasp you can see there that's part of that that side there. So it meant that I didn't have the metal clasp visible for the patient too. Um, okay, let's get it fitted. See how it fits. These are all my lovely rest seats and dimples where it just fits into those teeth there. And then that's the looking from the fitting surface where we've got the stop there. And then if you notice, I like to have a little pin dam all the way around. In I think in Germany and other countries, these sorts of things aren't they don't have them. But I find that it just stops a little bit of ingress of food in there too. That's why I like them. I've tried it without, and I think it just is better with it. But anyway, so let's get this fitted here, and it fitted really beautifully. It didn't. I didn't need to do any adjustment. I don't think of the way it fitted on the teeth there. You can see I've just done a little bit of sandblasting just there. So this is the mouth that fit, and with those onlays that are in there that we've done. And that's it fitted. Now, interestingly, this is his CR position there when I fitted it. Can you see how it's open? It's jacked open there. I did want to adjust that tooth a bit more, but it was from previously doing a little bit of odontoplasty on that tooth there. It was sensitive. I really didn't want to do much more on it. So you can see the shell class fitting nicely just there. Um, and then he slid into that position. So sorry, just go back. That's CR position, and that's him sliding into a better fit. And I reviewed him over a period of a month. And look at this. This was a month later, all fitting together beautifully in the bite there. So effectively, this metal-based denture had acted as a dial and had repositioned this tooth slightly, just moved it just orthodontically, um, so that everything was just beautifully even, and he was really, really, really comfortable with it. He loved it. He got on with it so well with it. There you can see how I've sandblasted this section just there. That's the shell class fitting around that tooth there. Mohit. Um, when overlaying the cobalt chrome over the upper right 4-5 onlays, what is the minimum thickness allowable to still maintain a good framework strength? 0.5 millimeters. Any less than that is a problem. So half a millimeter is my rule for that. But everything just fitted beautifully into it. How would you have changed your approach if at the review the CR contact was still a Mohid? I wouldn't have. It's a really good question. Um, I may have had to think about drilling a hole in the denture, but actually going so where just in that region, just there, because that was where it was propped, um, grinding right the way through that section and just keeping the metalwork around here so that it would still be on that lingual surface, but I'd be really, really super reluctant to do it. But what I really do think that the Dahl principle works very, very well. Settling in. Orthodontist. My wife's an orthodontist, and things just settle in. So, and also the other thing I think is really important with this sort of thing is too, sometimes these dentures don't fit perfectly at the fit appointment, and they just bed in as well um, over a week. Everything just settles. The periodontal ligaments just move a little bit. It's quite forgiving um, there. But good, really good question, Mohid. That's great. So here he is. That's with the old RPD in place. You can see his lip support's different here. The mouth shape's just better, isn't it? Love it. It's a splint. I don't really think it's a denture. It's more like an occlusal stabilization splint. It's a semi-permanent splint. You know, it's good. There, this is it here. So it was just because he was hitting on the left hand side, it was just making this tip at the fit appointment. So it was just coming away a bit there. But look at this, when we've got CR re-established, all seated because of the bite, just pushing it into place, really nicely. It's great. So that's in there, CR, and there to 1 month later, where everything's just re-established really nicely, and you can see that everything lines up. This is this gap there that's just gone up. It's vertical. It's not. He hasn't slid to the to his right hand side. It has just re-established a bite there, which is great. And this is what he said. So you totally changed my life. You've got me back. And it's a big investment, 12,000 pounds for a patient, but it really has. He loves it. Um, so I I just this is funny. I always like to just think about what I do differently when and I interestingly I would have loved to have improved the aesthetics here and just for that to look better. But it wasn't a big issue for him, which is amazing. Because it was so bad before, but and unfortunately, it all worked out nicely. But but also, I forgot to use a face bow. It's just corrected me for Facebook there, but I didn't use a face bow. Um, and and this is and because I didn't use a face bow, this happened, didn't it? The my first trying of the front teeth there was a cant. So I should have used Facebook, a face bow. Um, Now the other thing, because I'm most of last year. I've not been using Rowan. He's not, he's been ill. My amazing technician. So I've been using Sam and Chris at a different lab. And my communication tools have been obviously writing down my lab ticket, but I also love WhatsApp. We've been using WhatsApp here with loads of photos to them, but also using Loom video. Um, Oh, Farah, how did you fix the cant? Um, Farah, quite simply, this was try-in one, and this was try-in two. So we just reset the teeth. So my point is that I should have used a face bow to not have to do that. So, but anyway, WhatsApp's been brilliant. And also Loom videos too. After each visit, I do a little video like this of me talking on the screen about what I've done for the patient and what impressions or whatever, and then I can then put a link into my WhatsApp chat. Just goes into there, and then Sam or Chris or whoever can read it and listen to me talking. But also, what I like to do as well is to make them really know how grateful I am for their expertise and say thank you, because I don't say thank you enough to my technicians for helping me out. And I know that they really need to know and have really good feedback about these sorts of things. So this is me just saying thank you to him. So this is Sam who did the acrylic work and most of the work for Keith. This is Sam's dad. Sam's dad is my metal technician, who is fantastic. His work is just amazing and fits beautifully. And this is Paul here, who did the composite onlay too. And so it's a great team. It's lovely. Dahl principle approaches can take from weeks. Mohid, sorry, I'm just going to come back to the Dahl. Dahl principle approaches can take from weeks to months to take effect. In your case, where you apply this principle, do you have a time limit after which you would consider a different approach as the teeth did not Dahl in enough? Mohid, I don't have any experience of it not working. Um, so it's I can't give you an answer to what, time limits on whether it's what we're going to do or what we're not going to do. So because it's really effective if the splint works, if it's solid and the patient is wearing it, then I do find the dial principle works. So, but I don't have to do it a lot. It's not a big, this is a very, if you look at most of my cases, most of the stuff, I'm not having to do the dial principle, but it is a bit of with these really extreme cases, it's definitely a get out of jail card. Thanks, Mohid. So, I'm really loving at the moment writing this partial dentures book. This is what I'm doing most of the time. This is why this year I'm not doing a lot of traveling for lecturing because I want to get this book published with John Besford and we're really going for it. I am running in-house courses where we really go into detail for all of this type of stuff where I can show you, I bring in cases into the surgery and with each different case, I can show you step by step. It's a wonderful thing, where we have a patient. I've got a patient in the chair. I've got a video camera on here. I've got all the delegates. Anyone that comes in can see exactly what I'm looking at because we've got a big screen. There's hands-on components for setting up of teeth. It's really good fun to do this. So I run two lots of different complete denture, two separate complete denture courses. They're over 2 days. That's run via Shortlander. You can get all of this information from my website, these clinical courses and how to book on them. My partial dentures are now I do 2 day, two separate 2 day courses because partials is a massive topic and we go through loads of cases and you'll see me exactly working with a patient and you can ask me tons and tons of questions too. I do a 1 day implant overdenture day, which is fantastic. Love it. And also a 1 day immediate denture day because I think these are the most difficult dentures that we actually make for patients too. And then also for people like Nick, you've been on lots of my courses, Nick. This is a great day for a refresher for people who have done my previous courses once a year. Come in and we can just go through cases. You can bring in lots of, your own cases, study models, photos, body blah, and we can just plan up these things. So, and also if you're interested as well, if you have cases that you're struggling with, that you would love me to help treatment plan and help design dentures for and help you work through that process, I do mentoring service as well, which I really enjoy doing. We can do it via Zoom, or you can come up to the practice or to Lancaster and sit with me. We can just plan through these cases. It's quite expensive to do this, but it really does help streamline these sorts of cases. Because when they go wrong, it's really, really expensive if things aren't fitting. So that's great. So I've just got one international talk I'm doing. This is in the Netherlands later in the year, and I'm over to the States next year. Fantastic. So, and the next study club is going to be on Thursday, February 27th, and it's going to be in the morning, 7:30 for other people on the other side of the planet. You can tune in too. And I'm going to be showing, I want to work through this chap's denture. This is Nick. He's a Romanian chap and he's a dental technician. His son Alex works down south in Eastbourne, and Alex brought his dad up, and we made him some dentures this year, and it was really fantastic. Some complete dentures, and he loved it. It was really good fun. So he's going to be my next one. So this is a list of dates here, there. So thank you so much for listening, and all of the study club lives are on my YouTube channel, so you can just revisit what I talk about on that too. It's great. And then if you've also got friends and colleagues, clinicians that you think would really benefit from, um, what I'm talking about and showing, then please show them some of my cases, introduce them to my website, because I just want to make it your lives easier so that you can actually treat your patients better, and um, and really, dentures can really make a massive difference to patients' lives. Thanks so much for joining me. Um, See you next time. Thank you.